Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. We have another cuckoo clock to work on. Can you imagine that? Anyway, this clock I was a little excited about because it had big old 8-day weights on it. Let's see. It says 44 on it. I don't know what that is. I'd have to weigh it. But I will admit, when I hung the weights on there just to test the clock out, it almost sounded like we were at a racetrack or we had woodpeckers in there. So I don't believe these weights belong to the clock. So that made me a little sad. I was thinking, this type of clock with 8-day weights, how cool is that? Anyway, let me show you what I'm going to be working on. This clock here, it looks like the hands are a little bit too big for it. It has the bird sitting on the nest, and it looks like somebody dug his eyeball out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. Maybe get a red bead. We'll see what goes on there. Here you got the cuckoo bird and the quail bird. This is a quail clock. You see the nice leaf here? This piece of the leaf looks like it's been broke off, but it's not that noticeable unless you noticed it before I said anything. And this one here also has the hooks that have the square here. That gives me some age there, in my opinion. I don't know what the weights are supposed to be on here. I haven't tried anything, but I'm going to say probably this is a 1-day clock and it's probably 375. It's a Herbert Hur movement. This has the count wheel on it, so that gives me a little bit of age there, and which I kind of figured anyway. This was made before 1950, so it could be in the 30s or 40s. It could be even older than that. I'm just giving a wild guess. You notice this whistle box here? I don't think this whistle box belongs on here. It has a plastic top. It's not long like this one here. So I'm gonna have to dig through my whistles and see if I happen to have, my whistles, to see if I happen to have one that will match that one. Of course, with different tunes. And then the back there we have the third whistle for the quail. He got stuck in. Maybe he's trying to cuckoo. This has leather, but it's been repaired, so I'm going to go ahead and just put Tyvek paper on those. This whole movement has been squirted with, I'm going to say WD-40 or something like that. I don't know if you can see the shine in there of how oily it is. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this clock apart, because I'm going to go ahead and clean the movement. And so when I come back, I'll have these two whistle boxes out, and I'm going to leave the back one in for now. I'm going to take the nut off so I can get the hands off. Let's see what this is all about. We have the decorative nut. We have a nut again to tighten the hand, the minute hand on. We have a square hold minute hand. They're usually hard to get off. And then of course this hour hand just pressure fitted on there. And then we have dust and hair coming out the hole. And then here, I'll disconnect both the birds. So on the side of the box I have a screw and a nail, and that makes me happy. It's not glued in, but this is an old enough clock. They may have been trying to save money, but they didn't know the crappy secret that the clock companies have nowadays, where some of these things are glued in. I'm going to go ahead and take the smaller whistle box out also, because the wire that makes the bird go up and down, it comes above the tail, down, and then below the tail. And I want this to come out easily, so why not take that one out as well. So this here movement or clock might not be that old, because let me show you here. It has a Phillips screw in all 4 holes. That screw went through this nut and then screwed it to the box. So I'm gonna guess, realistically, they had a screw that was too long, so the nut is what shortened it up. And so we'll say just someone's had worked on this clock. They tried their best of what they had, which is fine. The only thing I'm not really thrilled about, but then again they tried their best, is the movement was sprayed in order to try to get to work without taking it apart. But sometimes that spraying helps clean the movement too when I get it. I'm going to go ahead and take this pendulum wire out too. I would say also this clock had probably fallen off the wall because, or just not taken care of very well. This pendulum wire, it was bent clear over here and whatnot. I only semi-straightened it up to see if I'd get the clock to tick, and it did. Of course, it's rusty. They forgot to spray it. Not that that would have helped the clock run. So we're ready to take this movement out. Oh, no we're not. I want to take these chains off that are here, so because they need to be cleaned anyway, and you don't clean a movement with the chains on it. When I was pulling this chain out, it got hung up. So I wasn't keeping the one side snug. There we go. Free at last. So this gives you a chance to see what the birds look like. This one here has got the red paint on there. He's got the blue. Both of them have the mouth that opens, but they don't have the wings. And these are plastic, so I'm not sure just how old this is. Your real old ones normally have the wood birds on there. And this very well could have had the wood birds and someone changed them over to the plastic ones. I don't know. I'm not changing them. I'm leaving both of them on there. But there's the movement. And we're going to shine these plates up just because this clock deserves it. This here has these triggers on it that you could tie a string and go through the bottom of the clock, which I think the clock has that, in order to get it to chime, to bring it to the right hour. by this in case your hands got messed up. This also has one. This side here is for the Quail, I guess, in case he gets messed up. I've got another Quail clock I do believe is newer, but to tell you the truth, it's been so long so I've looked at it inside. I don't know what type of movement it has in it, whether it's an old one like this or what it is for sure. So anyway, I'm going to get some pictures taken, and then we can take this thing apart. Take these birds off. I've noticed that they're at quite an angle with this, but you adjust them for the door and whatnot, and also so the wire will hit the tail. And you don't put these on very tight either. So these are usually difficult on figuring out or getting the spring to attach to them and where you hook them. Normally you bring them around on the inside and then just bring them over. This one here, it was bent at one time, but it's sitting there straight. I mean, it's crooked is why I can tell. It used to be bent there. This side is just bent over straight as well. And this movement has this wire, spring wire, that comes clear through the plate, and that's what's popping this one back up. The lever itself, the bird itself is pressuring on that, but it's probably not enough to lift everything, and it does have quite a bit of spring there. And this normally you leave in. If you wanted to wiggle it, it will come straight out. What it is a piece of wire that's been smashed, and so on the end, so once it goes in here, it kind of wedges itself in there. On this side, it also has one clear inside there. Of course, your pictures are going to show you where all this stuff goes or help you out there. Also, you need to pay attention to which way this plate goes for the bird arm to drop into. If you put it on the wrong way, it's going to bring it out here, and it's just going to throw things off. So in your pictures, hopefully you got that too. Taper pin. Your washer that holds the wheels down with. Now this can come out along with this, which tells the clock each quarter hour, because the cuckoo will not cuckoo until the quail's done, and the quail actually sets off the cuckoo on his fourth go around. This here should pop off. I might have to, oh, there we go, work at it. It has the friction washer, I think they call that. So anyway, back here, this is where operates the actual cuckoo bird. This is the one that actually operates the quail. And this will not take off until it's time for the quail to let him cuckoo, I guess we'll call it. So that's lifting up. So that's probably gonna wood Cuckoo now once this here drops. Anyway, we're getting this apart, not playing with it. So this is one of the spring wires in here. I grabbed a hold of it and pulled it towards going out because it pops through here, and it popped out. Do a little more. Now when you're putting these in, they are bent a little bit to make a better spring, I guess we'll call it. It doesn't want to come through the hole. Don't know why, but at least the spring's off. You have to be careful with these wires now because you don't want to be bending them up. But you can see how it has a bend here, and that's so I can put more pressure on the lever. And if these are missing, you can buy some small springs. They sell a whole box of them, different size and whatnot, that you can hook onto here and then bring around and hook on to the leg so it has pressure on this. You don't want a lot of pressure because too much pressure, the clock won't work. Also, this lever here that causes this thing to start cuckooing or whatever, I don't believe it, but I actually see right here there's a, not quite, but we'll call it an E-clip sitting in there. So this is going to be a bit of a difficult clock to work on or take apart and put back together because everything that you see here I can't get off. So I have to make sure each one of these go back into their place as I'm putting the clock back together again. I did try to get this off with my hand puller. It's not about to come off. It's really on there. And so that means this plate's going to hold on to the winder. I can't get it off. And this winder is going to stay with this top plate because it has that gear right there that doesn't just pop off either. So I'm going to take the nuts off and I'll show you as I'm taking this apart and watch it explode or whatever it's going to do. So on this one I'll have to remember this lift arm for the Quail is the shortest one. And then of course in the pictures it should show we have the gong, we have the medium and the extra long arms here. So we have this thing apart. Or the nuts off anyway. Let's see what goes on here. I'm trying to make it so we can keep the gears in place. Couldn't get it off. I slid the plate that way a little bit. Fighting with this one a little bit. It finally just pops right out of its hole. Still got a E-clip right there on the end, so it doesn't go clear through the plate, and the E-clip goes on the other side that's on the outside of the plate. There's a warning pin right there. And the fan is snug. Like I say, once I first put those 8-day weights on, it was flying. And I was wondering if these were too loose, but like I say, I'm pretty sure those weights don't belong to this clock. It's got one of the good winders. So there's a warning pin there. And has these 3 here. And on here there's a warning pin. And this fan is stiff enough also. Now to get this off, it looks like I have another E-clip in here, in which originally I didn't think they were E-clips because I can't see the other side of it. But when I started to pop them out, like on the other one, I was able to, or I saw that it was an actual E-clip. So I should be able to push it through a little bit and then come out the hole. So I just discovered pushing this into the plate, now I can get this out. Maybe. Here we go. So once that one's out, the rest of them should just slide right on out. Now this had the 2 hammers. The original back, in which this is the back that came with it. It's not the original back. It doesn't need that board going clear up because it's kind of weird to get this out. But it had 2 holes, and normally a clock like this has 2 gongs on it. I can push it all the way through. This here is not going to come off. I already tried taking these off before. I know this one's not going to come out. I think that's about as far as I'm going to get. So I have it together, and what I did is I timed this side first, and that's to get the last arm for the cuckoo bird or the bellow to drop, and that took some doing. And then the time, it doesn't make any difference. It does its thing until you start putting the stuff on here. Then also to get this side timed to where this lever here drops, but doesn't drop too late to where it's going to drag on the side here, because otherwise your clock's going to bind up or whatever. And what I do is I've been putting the arm up for the bird so it stops hanging up. You gotta keep your finger off of that too, it helps. So here it's gonna come over and click this and bring this up to make the cuckoo bird want to start. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. See, I'm too close to it. So I still need to do some adjustments so this lever here that drops into here doesn't hit the side, because if it does, it's going to bind up and not want to come back out. This is before I wax it. Now I do know you got to be careful on some of these older clocks that the stain that's on them is made from mud puddles, I think. It'll come right off. But just same, I'm going to try this. I did half of it, and it shows you how it darkens the wood a bit. This half hasn't been done yet, but it does help protect the wood as long as it's not going to take your stain off. And I'd try a small area first before you do your clock, just in case the stain wants to come off. And so yes, I got all back together again, but to get back to the timing, don't worry about the time side of the clock. If the gears are in there, but let them fall out if they have to. It's more important to get these both sides into time. On this one, this lever here that drops into the hole, you need to time this one with this gear right back here, and this one's the one that is a disc with a slot in it that drops this one, because if those two aren't rhyming right, you're not going to be able to get your warning pin right. The time side was a little bit easier. Obviously you don't want to put this on until you're done with the time side, or the cuckoo side. And once you have the cuckoo side working, that means getting these levers to stop when they're supposed to. Then putting this on, you have that lever right there that drops in, and it's such a small space, it needs to just catch to the outside of the hole over here. Then when it cuckoos on the half hour, it needs to catch just on the other side. And to adjust that, you're turning this gear with this gear, as in, if you need to, you have to unscrew this screw here, pull it out, and then move it one tooth one way or another to accomplish getting this into the groove that needs to. Anyway, now I'm putting the chain on. I got the bellows in. I had to rebuild this one. This one is an original to the clock. It used to sit over here, but I had to switch them because I found this whistle box that has the lower note, and so I had to take the head off anyway. And same with this one, I had to take the head off in order to turn it to be the right way. So I'm putting the chains in, and As you can see, I got the one set in there. I just got it in there. I need to pull these chains so they're even on the end. And the reason why is because you're going to take this chain and you're going to wrap it around whatever you can to keep it tight so it doesn't fall off. So you can get the next one in. Now, it's easier to put the chains on there before you install this. I didn't, again, and the main reason why is everyone's saying, well, how do you put the chain on? Because they usually have a clock that the chain fell off and they want to get it back on somehow or another. And if you can't wheedle it by wiggling the chain up and down to try to catch where it needs to, you just need to take the chain out all the way. And what you do is you drop the screwdriver in and see which way it turns. This one's turning around this way. And the reason, for that, you drop the chain into the first hole and catch your, let's see here, you'd catch your gear. So drop this in the first hole. Now you gotta kind of watch because you don't want the chain to fall too far in and get tangled up in the matrix in the other gears. So you slide it to the side and you give it a light tug. It's on there. It can hold itself. And now you take your screwdriver in the next hole and start turning it. I turned it a little bit, so that tells me I should be able to stand it straight up. And now I can finish spinning this around. There's a chain already fallen. I want to spin it around because it's easy enough to get it to go through the hole. And here it is. Again, you'll move this chain across until both ends meet. Now you have that extra weight on both, or the same weight on both chains, and you're going to wrap this one around everything that you can to keep it from falling off. And you do the same with the center one. Reach in here, see which way it winds. It's going around this way. So you put the chain in here, slide it in, and do the same as I told you before. So I have all the chains in. You notice these two strings here. That's so you can set your Quail and the Cuckoo, how many times he cuckoos. And what I did is I tied him onto the metal part, the trigger, whatever you want to call it. And so that way, I mean, you can open the door triggered if you want to, or this way that just stays closed. And you can pull this to get it to trigger. And these will be cut off with a ring that's probably hidden up. Try to get it up a little bit high so it's not necessarily seen. It doesn't matter if it's seen. This is I don't know, it's a wax string. I imagine it's cotton, but it's green. It's not going to stand out. It's just your preference on what you want to do. So anyway, as far as I know, this clock is ready to go. It didn't come with a pendulum, and I was thinking it didn't come with a topper, but this topper happened to be in there. I was just too excited to show off the clock and get working on it. And so, as usual, I'm using rubber bands because rubber bands don't pull or push or however you want to call it on there too tight. And if you need it tighter, you just start wrapping around depending on the size of your rubber band. and I wasn't watching it, moved on me. But you know what? This looks better than what it did broke. Not a lot better than what some people do. So anyway, I was mentioning the size at the first of the video of what you would need for this clock. This one here measures 13.5 inches. So let me get this hung on the wall and set that up on top of it and see just how it looks. So this is the clock with the top on it, and I haven't waxed it yet. I have to wait on that for 24 hours or whatever. So I don't have the hands on it yet. So I can figure out what time it is just by pulling just this one. Wrong one. Haven't adjusted the Cuckoo either, obviously. But anyway, it looks like it's doing good. Let me pull that thing down and fix that part. That's a quarter hour. The half hour, the other bird will also strike or cuckoo once. And then, okay, that was a half hour. This is 3/4 hour. And then the hour. So there we have it. So, like I said, there we have it. Anyway, this clock, it looks like someone tried working on it, didn't know that much about it, I'm gonna guess, and that's why it was kind of messed up. I will admit it's still a little bit messed up because I've noticed when it cuckoos, the chain is jumping where the weight is, and that tells me this has got a 1-day chain, and it might need an 8-day chain or a little smaller. I'm going to have to practice with some of my different chains just to see which one seems to run better and hits the cogs properly. Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Anyway, I'm coming back over to this Quail clock right here. It came with 8-day weights, which it wasn't an 8-day clock, and it has 1-day chains on it. And after running, let's say, the cuckoo side, because you see the chain moving faster then, it seems to drop like the sprockets aren't lining up with the chain. Let me show you. So this is the Quail side, and you can see how the chain is holding nicely onto the teeth are grabbing the chain nicely. So that leads me to believe, let me show you the Cuckoo side. This is the Cuckoo side. It's harder to see because you have all these levers in the way, but the chain isn't necessarily ever catching on the teeth. What it's doing is coming to the side of the teeth, and so I have to take this movement out because I do believe the winder on this side is, the plates are spread apart too far, and that, we'll call it locking washer, pressure fit washer on here is just too loose and keeping a spread in here and causing the teeth to not catch the chain. So here I'm going to try to show you. This is the Quail, You can see where the chain's actually catching. This is the time. You can see where it's actually catching. Without even touching this one, you can see the tooth is sitting on top of the chain. If I drag it over, I can get it on there. But otherwise, your normal, it's just not catching the chain. So what I came to the conclusion of on this chain, I might need a new chain, but I did clean the chain and I just waxed the chain so it seems to slip a lot better. And now at the moment the teeth are grabbing where they're supposed to, and this isn't slipping because the chain is able to twist back and forth as needed to line up as it's getting wound up inside. And it seems to be doing a lot better now. So the Quail sometimes happens to stick. The door doesn't quite want to open, and I've tested the door. The door is free as can be. The two plates, I guess we'll call it, with the hole that the rod slides in, I've adjusted them a little bit. They seem to be free, but for some reason every once in a while it'll still stick. It'll open part way and die. And pushing the lever through the hole on the side of the clock, it's like it has to have a little extra to it, and I'm not sure what that is. It doesn't do it all the time, and there's a chance I might have to take this clock down and take a look at it again. Otherwise, it seems to be doing pretty good, keeps good time and whatnot, and so I'm happy about that. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. If you appreciate this video, give me a thumbs up, because that helps in the algorithm, whatever they call that. And until next time, God bless. Don't forget to subscribe, because it's free. And if you'd like to leave me a message on anything, that would be fine too. Just let me know what you're up to, or whether you appreciate the video or what. Or just to say hi. And hi, Bat. Until next time, God bless.